And I'm going to take some of the more mature clay. I'm going to make it into, what does this look like? What am I doing right here when I pound it out like that? It's just like making a little bitty what, Frankie? A slab. Make a little slab. So I take my slab and I'm going to push it into the press mold. I'm going to take another chunk of clay, pound it out. Now what's different than when I made my big slab with the slab roller? What am I doing that's not quite the same? Anthony, what's different? Can you tell me?
Pounding it out yourself?
I'm pounding it out myself, but am I making a giant slab? Like a giant blob? Or am I just doing individual pieces?
Individual pieces.
Exactly, that's the key. If I make a giant slab and try and like stuff it in here, it's gonna buckle and move. It doesn't work very well. So I want to use smaller pieces. So I just pound out one piece at a time. I put it in here and I want it to stick out of the press mold. So it comes out over the top and I get it all filled. And I want each piece, as I do it, failed to show you that. No, I made that one too thin. I want each piece to be about finger thick. So it's approximate, about the thick, maybe of a thick finger. You know, maybe like the thickness of my thumb. So somewhere around this thickness is what I'm putting on here. And then I'm going to push it into the slab mold, or the press mold. And as I push it in here, I really want to force it into that shape because I want it to take on that shape. And then I'm going to use my thumb and try and even it out. If my clay is an even thickness, I'm much less likely to have any cracking issues or things later where it would dry unevenly. Now if you can get it pretty even with your thumb, fabulous. But we have a whole variety of wooden ribs. Now this one I don't like so much because it's got corners. We have a few of these, don't use those. These rounded guys are fabulous, fabulous for this. So as I'm doing this, I'm gonna pick one that looks like it could match the curve of the bowl I'm using. This bowl had kind of a corner. It wasn't quite that sharp. I think this one's pretty close. I'm gonna go with this guy. And I'm just gonna push it into the press mold and I'm working to kind of even it out. And I don't know, but I'm guessing what I think would be about even thickness all the way around. So I get it so it looks like the inside shape that I saw right before. And then I'm gonna go with my thumb and try and smooth it a little bit because one of the new things about this project compared to the other ones is we're gonna think about functionality, definitely. If I'm gonna be able to actually drink tea, how many of you actually drink tea? Oh, fabulous!
Iced tea.
Look at that! Iced tea. It's good with honey.
Sweet tea.
I like chamomile.
My dad makes some tea. I'll tell you.
Yeah?
Make the old-fashioned.
Nice. So, all right, we'll talk about functionality because if you use your teapots, it's like the best tasting tea you'll ever have in your whole life when it's from your very own teapot. So, what you're gonna do, I get it nice as even as I can. I smooth it out so that I don't have like cracks and crevices. The tea could get stuck in there. And I'm gonna level it. I'm using a Fetley knife, a butter knife, or whatever, you know, whatever works. Take a knife, slice it off. Now, as I look at this, it's not bad. It's a little thick over here. It's not quite consistent. If I were keeping this and it weren't just a demo piece, I might even it out a little more, but pretty good. This thickness is kind of what I'm going for. If it's a little thicker, that's fine. So I got that. Now, I would make sure it's as even as I can. I'm gonna flip this thing over, and if I'm lucky, look at that, pops right out. Like magic, poof. Now, there are some little cracks and things in here, and you can see this soaked up the moisture. So it did exactly what it was supposed to do, where the moisture is in the bowl, this popped out really easily. You guys are second period, first period is gonna be using the bowls. If it doesn't come out right away, which does happen, please don't do this. It's all that's going to happen is you will crack and break my bowl. See, someone was mean to my bowls. Don't do that, please. You just, little taps usually work. If that doesn't work, hello, are you coming out of there? Just give it a little knock, talk to it, be kind. It usually will pop out. If you can't get it to come out, call me over. Now, I noticed this morning, over there was a bowl that's been fired. That is not a press mold bowl. Because if it's fired, is it still porous? What's the word? Anybody remember? What's it called? Starts with the V. Raise your hand if you know. Vicious. It's a press mold. Yes, it is. Close. Vitreous. Excuse me. Anybody remember?
Venus.
Vitreous. Vitreous. Yep, you had it. Vitreous. So vitreous is where the pores are closed up. So it's not going to work as a press mold anymore. Your clay's just going to get stuck in it. So don't use those. All right. There's a couple little cracks and things, not much, but I'm going to take some of that clay that I took off because I know it's the same moisture level. And I can get it, if I find a hole, I didn't press quite hard enough in a spot or two, I can add a little bit. I don't want to add too much because I don't want to make sure I'm trapping any air. Ooh, geez, I did not do a good job pressing it in there, did I, at all? So now you know, pressed a little harder than I did. All right, so now I'm going to take my serrated rib, and just like with the coil pots, when you were luting the outsides, if you chose to do that on the outsides, you lute across the seams to make sure that any of those seams that are left there get luted together. And I like to use the serrated rib for this because it's better than my finger. I have this big clunky finger that's getting in there. The serrated rib is like tiny little fingers that are going to go not quite as hard, and I can then smooth it and make it even on the outside. Now, I am not making this perfect because I got a lot more work to do on it. If I make this perfectly smooth, then it's wasting my time. So those of you with like the smoothing disease where you smooth everything, resist the urge. I'm not